Dzień dobry, cześć, and hello. Welcome, guys, to the second episode of the Polskast. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Phil.
Trev, we made it all the way to episode 2. How does it feel?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Biggest accomplishment ever, right?
Listen, we made an episode. People liked it. We got some good comments, so
Yeah.
I guess we're going to do it again.
All right, so in the last episode, we talked about some of the cities that we went to, and today we're just going to talk about, I guess, more details about that, and we're going to take a question from one of you guys in the first video. I think someone commented something, so we're going to be talking about that in the end, and if you have any questions, just leave them down below. So last time we talked about some of the cities we went to. Do you want to talk about some of your impressions of the cities you went to? And on the first trip, you said you just went to Warsaw and then Białystok, right?
Right. And for the most part, I've been going to Poland for 12 years now. For the most part, that is the pattern that I followed. I've mostly been in Warsaw and Białystok. This last trip, I finally bugged my wife enough to take me somewhere else, and I've been to Krakow. So that's
And when was
final
that?
city. That was right before the lockdown in December. I was there for Christmas and New Year's Eve. We were in that trip. We went to Warsaw, Białystok, and Krakow. How about you? Which cities you been to?
I've been to Zakopane, if you call that a city. I don't know. Touristic town. Gdańsk, Krakow, Lublin, Warsaw, Białystok. I'm just thinking, like, the ones that I'm not going to talk about, my girlfriend's going to kill me.
I say,
after.
don't get in trouble for
I
not
know,
forgetting
I'm
anything.
trying not to get in trouble here.
So let's start with Warsaw, since I'm sure that's the first city that most people see when they travel to Poland. That's where the biggest airport is. That's where the airport most people go to.
Right. That or Krakow. I think.
Or Krakow.
Yeah.
Or yes. It's a Polish thing.
So yeah, Warsaw was really cool, especially like first impressions. I mean, we went to the old town, and I was acting like a tourist. I was just taking photos of everything. I haven't seen like old towns like that before, or
Right.
you know, the architecture like that. And yeah, Warsaw's a beautiful city.
I had so eventually I had the same impression as you. At first, I was a little disappointed when I got there.
What year was that?
That was 2009.
Okay.
So it's been a while. That was before the stadium was there.
Really?
And yeah, and a lot of, when they had the Euro in 2016, I believe it was, there was a lot of upgrades done to everything to prepare for the fact that they're going to be hosting the Euro and European Championships, and like the train stations were upgraded and the stadium was built. But I think in general, I had just simply, as we mentioned last time, this was my first trip to Europe even. And, you have this vision in your head, you see what you see in movies of what European cities look like. And I think it's a consequence that, Warsaw was completely destroyed in World War II, that it's a very modern city. It was rebuilt recently. And so when I got to the airport, I remember it was basically the ride from the airport to near the Warsaw Central in the train station. We stayed at like that Hilton across the street, and I was just like, this just looks like every city I've ever been to. I was like, where's the Europeanness, right? Eventually, once we kind of got our wits about us, and we decided to take a walk. I think at the hotel they recommended we go down to Old Town to get something to eat. And we walked down to Old Town, and I was like, okay, this is what I was expecting. This is what I was looking for. And
They kept that little piece of European.
Right. My impression changed a lot at that point. Have you been to specific things in Warsaw? Attractions or anything like that? Yeah.
Attractions. I got to see Magda Gessler. Do you know who that is?
No, I do not.
Okay, so do you know like Gordon Ramsay, right?
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen.
Yep.
So this lady, Magda Gessler, she's like the Polish version.
Is she she's like a bigger woman, right?
A bigger woman, gold,
Okay.
curly hair,
I've seen
a bit
her
older.
on TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to see her at her restaurant, like walking into her restaurant. I was like, my
Really?
God, Yeah.
Did
it was
you know
kind of
who
funny.
she was beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched a lot of her shows on, I think her show is called Kitchen Nightmare or something like that. She
something
goes
like
to, different restaurants all around Poland.
Yeah.
And just yells at them, basically.
Okay.
So
It's
kinda
the Polish
funny.
version of Kitchen Nightmares then.
Exactly. So I got to see her. Besides seeing like Christmas markets, all of that stuff, I went to some of the museums, like World War II museums. The Uprising Museum, that one.
Okay.
Really good, really good. Really liked it.
So my time in Warsaw has been fairly limited. Most of the time, it's just simply that's our airport destination, and so really that one time, my first trip to Poland, like I said, we spent a day in Warsaw before going to Białystok the next day, and that was pretty much my main visit there. And it was literally going down to Old Town. When I went, it was September. So it was beautiful weather. It was. They were telling us that it was like surprisingly warm that year. Where there was like 70 degrees. We had t-shirts and and jeans on and stuff like that. It made it obvious we were Americans because we were wearing like our sneakers and t-shirts and and jeans and stuff like that. But that's fine. Yeah. So it was just it was one of those. We went down to Old Town. We you see all the buildings and everything on the way down there, and we had some food to eat. I remember I specifically wanted some fruit at that point. And
you just wanted fruit.
Fruit or vegetables, something like that. You're weird when you're jet lagged, right? Like
yeah.
It was like I'd flown overnight. I was just there in the morning.
You have some
weird
cravings and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like I just really need some fruit, and the only way I could get some was to get like an ice cream sundae with like strawberries on it or something like that. So along with my beers that we were having lunch, I had ice cream.
I don't think you can drink in public, right? No.
In the restaurants. I mean, you're kind
but
of...
not like walking down
I don't...
the city.
No, I don't... I think it's very similar to here.
Okay. Yeah, so in recent years, I've been going to Warsaw a lot more. Mm-hmm. I think this is also just because it's so much faster now. I mean, with the highways, like, whenever this is a topic we can get into as well, is like, the first time we went to Poland and then even years later, like how it's kind of changed in just this recent, small amount of time.
Yes.
But, yeah, so a lot of the highways, have been kind of built now.
Yeah.
Just have been like continued,
For the first 10 years I was going, I think you probably have a similar story. Mm-hmm. People were telling me, oh, next time you come, the highway's going to be done between Warsaw.
Yeah, that's what they were telling me. Yeah. That's what they were saying with Lublin too.
I think even the train station, I would say, in the train that goes from Warsaw to Białystok is completely different now than when it was when I first went there. I remember when we first went there in 2009. The locals warned us about like pickpockets, pickpocketers in Warsaw Central and stuff like that. Yeah. They're like, stay in groups, don't separate from each other.
Oh my god, it's such a scary place. Oh my god.
They were like, none of the ticket. They had to buy our tickets for us before they left us in Warsaw because they were like, none of the ticket ladies speak English or anything like that. None of the signs were in English. I remember. Basically, it had on our ticket what platform we were supposed to be at. So we just kind of stood there, and the trains weren't even close to being on time or anything like that. And so we just kind of stood it there, and every time a train came on that track, we would ask somebody on the train if it was going to Białystok, and they would tell, we managed to find somebody who understood English, and and yeah, but nowadays the trains are much nicer. It's much easier. You can buy tickets online like you can here and everything like that. There's assigned seats also, which makes it a lot easier to find a place. I think there was a couple times I stood on the train all the way from Warsaw to Białystok.
So back to what we were talking about with the roads and stuff and the transformation of Poland, and I'm probably going to butcher this completely, but I think the time it took from Warsaw to Lublin, whenever I was first getting there, I don't know what year that was. I'm horrible at remembering things. Probably 17, 16, 17,
okay,
18, I don't know.
There's probably a Trev video about this topic.
Yeah, probably. It took, I think, I want to say around maybe 3 to 4 hours or something. Mm-hmm. And now they're making it up to an hour. I mean, it's insane how they've changed it. And I've been watching every single time I go over there, the construction on the highway. We would, whenever I first got there, they were building it, and so we were driving pretty much alongside the highway on kind of a really narrowy, windy road. But you could see this highway being built, and now it's pretty much fully up, and I think they're still building it, so it's even going to be faster.
Yeah, the last time I was there, the highway was finally done between Warsaw and Białystok. Like I said, every year when I got to Białystok, they were like, "How's your trip?" Between, because it's a long, getting there from America is not a long. It's not a short flight, and then all of a sudden you're facing this long car ride or bus ride or whatever to your final destination. Yeah. And so every year they was like, "How was the trip between Warsaw and here?" I'm like, "It's long." And they were like, "Oh, don't worry, next year the highway's going to be done." For 10 years, they were telling me that. Finally, it was done, and it is a very nice highway to get back and forth between. The buses, it actually makes it worth it to take the bus now between Warsaw and Białystok.
Yeah, yeah. That's what
Other
we
than
were
if you-
doing from Warsaw to Lublin.
Yeah.
So.
Other than the fact that I don't know if you faced this, the stereotype is true that Polish people are afraid of air conditioning.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I would get there. Yeah, I'd get on. Most of the time I go there is in the summer, and you get on the bus and it's hot in the bus, and I'm the only person in the bus cracking open a vent to get some air conditioning going. And then immediately, an older woman will sit in front of me. She'll give me the death stare until I close it.
Yeah. So, yeah. In the winter, for example, I just wear a hoodie. I just wear this and jeans, and even when it's snowing, because I know if I'm going to walk into a mall or any type of building, the heat is going to be blasted. So if I'm wearing a scarf, a coat, a hat, gloves, all of this stuff, I'm going to be sweating instantly.
Yeah.
Right as I walk into these places. So it's the same thing even with the air conditioning.
It's the opposite of here.
buildings.
Here, everything is over air conditioned.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you freeze,
when you
right?
walk in malls here, you freeze.
Yeah.
You're freezing, and over there, I'm constantly hot.
Yeah. Yeah. In the summertime, during bus trips and stuff, I'm just wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Or else I'm going to be sweating.
But even they've gotten a lot better now. The buses, like the last bus I was on, I managed to, sit next to people who didn't mind the air conditioning, so I got that on, and they have Wi-Fi now, the buses, and so and between those two things, and the trip is now shorter because, like you said, the highways are much better. It's not bad to take the bus now, especially because the bus station is, at least the one we use, is right at the airport. Literally, you walk outside, you walk around the corner, and there's the bus stop. So it's very convenient when you got all those big suitcases and everything like that.
And even now, the last time I went to Warsaw, they were just building stuff constantly. I mean, right now you can just see the skyscraper is being built this exact second. You can see the transformation just from the first time you went till now. It's like crazy. The last time I was in Warsaw, I mean, there was construction workers everywhere building these buildings.
And I would say, because people like us to talk about the differences between America and Poland. I would say definitely one of the big differences that's better about Poland is they're very good at taking care of their neighborhoods, their infrastructure, their buildings. They're constantly painting the buildings, and they put those murals up and everything. Everything just always has a nice clean look to it. Yeah. Here, every time I've lived near New York City now for almost 20 years, and every time I go there, it feels like it looks worse and worse because everything's just getting older and older, and I don't have that same feeling especially when you see all these construction workers. They're constantly,
Have you been to New York
things.
City recently?
Yeah.
So before pandemic till now, has it changed at all from what you've seen?
Because
I haven't been since. It's been a while.
I've been there 2 times during the lockdown. Actually, once I had to go to the Polish embassy to renew my daughter's passport.
I saw that vlog.
The biggest difference is it's dead. It's there's nobody out in the streets. You're used to there's no tourists there, right? And I guess especially on the weekends, that makes up a lot of the traffic in New York City, the feet traffic in New York City. And we walked around and no problem walking around. It's dead quiet. Everybody's wearing. That's the only place. New York City is the only place I've seen where everybody's wearing a mask all the time. Like in where I am here, people put on masks to go in stores and stuff like that. But when you're walking around outside, nobody has them on or anything like that.
But anyway,
right.
So
back to Polish cities, not American.
Yeah, back to Polish cities. Let me think. Zakopane, pretty cool. Mountains. Good food. It was beautiful. It was kind of like the Alps.
What time of year did you go to that one?
That was. See, I'm not going to be able to recall the years here. I don't have the memory.
What season?
It was summer. Summer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was awesome. We actually took this little slide around this mountain where you hop on kind of like a go-kart type of thing.
Yeah.
And you're
I think
sliding.
I've seen some videos of that. Those 4K videos when they're going.
Yeah. It was that, and that was so cool. That was so cool to do. Yeah, we're just drinking beers on a mountain, like just hanging out and chilling, you know.
I want to. We had plans. Like I said, we were in Krakow, which isn't that far from Zakopane, and I wanted to see it. Obviously now that Sławomir has sung his Miłosz Zakopanem, this is the city I have to see now, right?
That song makes me laugh every time I see it.
And so I was like, okay, we're gonna be in Krakow. Let's go. Let's go see it. But the problem was Zakopane has become like the Times Square of Poland, and so everybody gathers there for New Year's Eve. They have huge concerts there and everything like that. And the prices of like Airbnbs and hotels and stuff like that just like quadrupled for those few days we were going to be in Krakow. So we were like, it's not. We'll have to come back next time when it's not New Year's Eve time, basically.
Yeah. We got an Airbnb apartment and we stayed for like a week. It was really affordable. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, in general, I mean, I would say in general when you're staying, if I had to give advice to tourists, if they're traveling to Poland, it would definitely be use these Airbnbs. Like I think and we did this the first couple times we went to Poland. When I went, with my friends and stuff like that, is you look for the hotels with the American backing on it, like Hilton's or Best Westerns and stuff like that. Even though they have like a Polish name, there usually be a Hilton's or a Marriott or something like that, right? So we stayed at those. And even when you do the conversion between dollars, they're still decently priced, but the Airbnbs are, at least the ones we've stayed at, are very nice and they're way cheaper than staying in a hotel and stuff like that.
We stayed at Ibis. That hotel, I don't know if you've heard of that chain. I think it's a Polish one. We've stayed there always, and they're pretty affordable. But I like the Airbnbs because it's a different kind of experience. You feel like you're living there, stuff like that. Back to Zakopane, actually, I think they have the nicest taxi drivers in all of Poland. Yeah, yeah, the nicest ones.
Have you seen in general? Have you seen taxi drivers that speak English?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah,
I haven't, so I'm just curious. But I imagine in Krakow there are.
Yeah, definitely would be there.
But I haven't, never in Białystok. And
what did you think about Krakow? Are we gonna say the English names of these cities? Because I
can't. Well, how do you say Krakow? I don't even. Some of these cities I don't even know how to say in English. I'd say Krakow, but I say what do they say? What's English? Krakow.
Krakow.
Yeah. I'm so used to saying these cities.
So
the Polish.
Let's just say the Polish version of the cities. That's gonna make it easier for me too. Because even Warsaw kind of sounds weird sometimes.
I had to tell. I'll be honest. Every time you say Lublin, I'm like Lublin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Yeah. So for anyone wondering, I'm always saying Lublin just because that's easier to me than Lublin. But yeah, I'm gonna say Lublin for now on too.
I think I've gotten so used to saying the. With the Warsaw's maybe the only one I'm used to saying in English. I'll say Warszawa, but I think I'm used to saying Warsaw because that was the city that I knew before I ever traveled to Poland. But all the other cities, like I hear people say like Krakow and it's kind of cringe a little. I'm like,
I know. I know. Okay, so we're just gonna do Polish cities. Yeah. So Krakow. How was it? I mean, what'd you think? What'd you do? How many days did you stay?
So Krakow, we were there for 3 or 4 days. Our trip got cut a little short. We had to go back for a family emergency. But after I went to Krakow, it was blatantly clear that this is the city that you need to be staying at if you're a tourist. This is the first city you need to go to, right? It has the most history. It has the most things for people to see. It has the most I think it's the most English friendly city. If you're American,
I think all the Brits go there.
All the Brits are there. I saw tons of British people, tons of American people.
There's always British guys drinking.
Yeah,
for some reason, screaming. They're so loud.
One of the waitresses was telling me at one of the restaurants, she was like, that's a big location for British men to go for their bachelor parties.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's
okay, because every single time the one time I was there was just like guys all like hanging around each other, singing, dancing, drunk, like being super loud and stuff.
Yeah. So that was, when I was there, that was what I was telling. And I'd say, so like I mentioned previously, I've been going to Poland so I've been going to Poland for 10 years at that point. right? My first trip was in 2009. 2019 is when we went to Krakow. So, and I at that point I had only been to Warsaw and Białystok, and what struck me the most was how much English was suddenly going on everywhere. Because in Białystok, it's all Polish. I mean, the waiters and waitresses in the town center will speak English if they need to. If they figure out that you're American or you're a foreigner before they get to your table, then they'll speak English to you. But in general, when you're just walking through the streets and everything like that, you only hear Polish. But I would say when I was in Krakow, especially when I was in the touristy area, its town center, I would say English is the predominant language that you're hearing over there, and it threw me off. Yeah. To be honest with you, it kind of confused. I'm like, this is not what I'm used to while I'm in Poland, kind of thing.
Yeah. I probably have a different view of Krakow than you. Than you. I thought it was cool to see for one day. And actually, I mean, we went to the old town. We did all of that stuff, walked around, saw the tower with the trumpet thing, you know, the classic one. We did all of that. We went to the castle.
Did they have like stuff in the town center going, like food and stuff like that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was the summer.
Because like I said, we were there in Christmas time, and they had a lot of like booths and stuff like that, and food, and they're selling knickknacks and stuff like that. And I didn't know if that was specifically because it was the holiday season or if it's always like that.
No, they had that kind of thing in the summer, I think, as well.
Okay.
The one thing I didn't do that I wanted to do was go to that salt mine. Did you go?
So that was the thing. We had tickets to go. And like I said, we got a call that there was an emergency back with my wife's family, and so we missed it. But I've seen videos of that. I've obviously, when you study Polish enough, that's one of the topics that everybody talks about, and it looks amazing, and I really want to see it. I'll definitely go back there and see it again.
It looks cool. I'm scared there's gonna be a lot of people, like just tourists, packed, and then it's like not that cool.
It seems like it's one of those things where you have tickets and you have a certain time and stuff like that. So it's like appointment based kind of thing. So you should be all right. I believe that's what it was when we bought our tickets.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that it was just too touristy for me.
So what
that
everybody
was my biggest problem.
Right. What everybody tells me about it, and when everybody asks me about it, my response is always like, if you're going to Poland for the first time, this is probably the place you should go to, right? And if you're planning to go to Poland like once, right, this is probably the city you should be going to. Maybe hop over to Zakopane.
But if you want the true Polish vibe,
it doesn't
maybe
feel.
Try elsewhere.
It doesn't feel truly Polish to me. I was like, it's a good place to visit. I loved it. It's like New York City. I like to visit it to see the things. But I would never live there.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm gonna live in Poland, Krakow isn't the city for me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's nice to see, once or twice or a couple times, but anything more than that, I don't know.
I mean, you can spend all day walking around that city and seeing historical. It's one of the cities, opposite of Warsaw. It's one of the cities that wasn't touched, barely touched during the war. So there's lots of amazing old things. Like you said, you went up to the castle. I went up to the castle too. There's the bell up at the top and everything like that. A lot of amazing stuff to see.
I went to Krakow as Krakow was one of the last cities that I went to. I saw all of the other ones first and then Krakow. So to me, whenever I went to Krakow, I was like, it doesn't really feel like Poland to me. It's something else. I don't know, something about it doesn't really feel like Poland.
You can tell it's full of tourists. Is basically what it is.
And I don't know. I just have a thing. I just don't like touristic places. I'm that guy. I think when we both went to Poland, we experienced it in a way that usually tourists don't experience a country, right? We had locals showing us around and everything like that. And even though I went to Zakopane.
Right. but it feels like an authentic trip. Yeah. Like it feels like you're not that you're a visitor to another country. It feels like you're in it on the inside a little bit, right? Like you said, I was at a wedding my first time, so it felt very much like I was on the inside. And so now I've gotten addicted to those kind of trips. Like I have no interest in going to a city and seeing the thing that I can see on the internet, right? That I can see a picture of. I'm like, yep, that's the thing I see on the internet, and now it's in real life, Okay. What's more fun to me is, sitting out in the village with some old guy and hearing his
Yeah, and having
stories
some
about,
experience
having
with
some
someone.
drinks, some guys playing the accordion and having,
That's what I
this
want.
crazy experience that
Yeah.
you never thought you would, ever experience.
Yeah.
And at least, we should probably preface this entire conversation saying, both of us have only seen a limited views of every city we've been to, but I didn't get that experience when I was in Krakow.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Gdańsk?
And no, I have not. It's on my list. Gdańsk is definitely on there.
It's so cool. To me, it's just like a unique city.
That's part of the 3 cities, correct?
Yeah, the Tri-City.
So
yeah,
you've been to all 3?
I haven't been to
Just
Sopot or Gdynia. I want to, but I just haven't yet. But yeah,
Okay.
Gdańsk, lovely city. I love the architecture. It's all like Gothic. And what's really cool about Gdańsk too, I feel like the buildings are possibly higher. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. You're just walking down like these narrow corridors and alleys and stuff, and you just see these massive like churches, with these really cool like Gothic architectures and stuff. It's really cool to see. I actually spent a New Year's in Gdańsk, and that was the craziest New Year's I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, so that was like, that might have been the first New Year's I've ever experienced in Poland.
Uh-huh.
And there's people shooting fireworks, like Roman candles, at each other in the streets.
Yeah.
And like, that's not legal, obviously, in the U.S. I mean, you would go to jail instantly. But here, like in Gdańsk and stuff, or just anywhere in Poland, they're launching fireworks in the middle of the street with thousands of people.
It's not even that day. I feel like it's for like a week.
Oh, yeah.
A few days leading up and the few days
You
after,
hear them. You start to hear it's more and more.
hearing them. Yeah.
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 And then we actually took, what's that thing that goes up at amusement parks?
Ferris wheel?
Ferris wheel. We actually took the Ferris wheel there right at like New Year's, like the time. And so you could see all the fireworks all around the city and stuff. It was so cool. But yeah, that's one of my favorite cities, I would say, Gdańsk.
Definitely that whole thing about experiencing New Year's Eve and everybody firing fireworks. So the one New Year's Eve that I experienced in Poland, I was in the village just outside of Białystok, and so we were in a little house, and it hit midnight. And, we were like traditional, you're in somebody's home, we're watching it on the TV and everything like that. And everybody's like, okay, let's go outside and fire the fireworks.
Outside Białystok, right?
It's a village just outside of Białystok.
Okay.
And so everybody's like, let's go fire the fireworks. And I remember my wife was like, she didn't want me to go because I had had so much to drink and she didn't want me playing around with fireworks and everything like that. I'm like, I have to go, I have to go experience this. And I walked outside the house and it was just fireworks everywhere, 360 degrees around you. It felt like every Polish person was outside firing fireworks at that moment. It wasn't like, here when we have fireworks shows, it's simply, okay, it's right in front of you and that's it. And here it was, it was completely around you. And so we ran down the road to like an empty field. I remember it was freezing rain also. And I'm like, what is going on right now? You just like one of those moments you just can't believe that you're doing this, And so we ran down the road and I remember the Polish people, the neighbors were yelling, Happy New Year and stuff like that in Polish and stuff like that. I'm yelling back at them 'cause at that point I remember how to say Happy New Year in Polish. And we got out to this field, we fired up the fireworks. It was just amazing watching, standing right under these fireworks in the freezing rain in Poland,
And think of that experience too. You're just, you're an American who years before you never knew you were going to Poland, right?
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're in a field outside of Białystok launching fireworks with the locals. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and I can't believe I got to this point, but I'm very happy that I did.
Yeah.
And, got to experience these moments that I'm sure you have plenty of moments in Poland. I'm sure we'll get to them in this podcast in these episodes. But.
You're just like, wow, I'm an American. I don't know if any American has ever done this before.
Right.
In some random place in Poland doing this.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I got you. Your girlfriend's probably gonna kill you if you don't talk about Lublin a little bit. So you to do that.
Yeah, Lublin. It's a great city. I think to me it's like a base city. So I'm always going there, and then from there I'll travel to other cities and back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So even day trips to smaller towns, all around the area and stuff, Sandomierz and all of that. But yeah, Lublin, it's a great city. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's cute. Stare miasto.
There's some very similar things that are in all. I feel like they're in all Polish cities. There's always like the Rynek. There's always the town center.
Yeah.
There's always. I don't know. There's a lot of malls there.
A lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of malls. Yeah. Like, they're nicer. I feel like in Poland than they are.
Yeah.
Than they've gotten here. They're like I feel like malls in America are now like a product of the '80s, and they're all like. Kind of run down now.
They have that
really goes there
80s to like 90s vibe in them.
Yeah,
I mean, you
like
can see the tiles in the floor. They're all from the 80s and stuff.
And all the stores aren't, aren't filled with actual stores. A lot of them are empty and stuff like that. It feels like a product of a different time. Whereas in Poland, it's still, a lot of people shop at these places. Yeah.
I'm guessing now that's going to change. Just due to the whole pandemic and stuff. A lot of people are buying online now, so it might change. But yeah. It's a great city. It's a solid place. Like, I know everything, like, everywhere to go, pretty much. It's cool. I like it there. I really do.
And so, okay. So you're able to...
My girlfriend's going to kill me because I don't know what else to say right now.
I don't know. It's okay,
It's a good city. It's a good city.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, let me ask you this. I'll ask you this question. Since you've been to more cities than me, can you tell the difference between like the locals? Can you tell the difference between like say locals in Krakow and locals in Warsaw and No.
Okay. No, probably because I haven't had enough interactions with them.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because I would say, and I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. Białystok in the Podlaskie region, we'll say, has like a certain stereotype. And, at the beginning, for the first how many years, it's the only place I had been to in Poland, other than Warsaw. So
what's the stereotype?
So the stereotype, it's kind of like, let's say, it's like the South in America, right? It's where all
like the
rednecks, the country folk, and the hicks,
Yeah. A lot of viral meme content on the internet of, tractors and...
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Explosion of barrels.
But it's one of those things. If it's the only place you've ever been to, it's what you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I'm like, everybody's like, oh, how can you go there? You need to go to these other cities in Poland, and everything like that. And I'm like, I don't know. It seems perfectly fine to me. It's the only place I've been to.
Yeah.
Since I went to Krakow, I understand. Like, I see the differences, and I understand. I'm like, okay, this is like I'm traveling. Like I said, this is like I'm traveling to New York City, and this is more like when Białystok and stuff like that. It's more like you're in the country area. It's still a beautiful city. It still is, a very modern city, like all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But it definitely has that. It has a more country feel now that I've been.
Yeah.
I've previously gone to different places.
I can tell a difference, especially with fashion, in some cities, like between Lublin and Lublin in Warszawa. I can tell the difference between like fashion and stuff like that. If you gave me a person, you're like, "Where's this person from?" Warszawa, Lublin.
You could probably.
Maybe.
Now we're gonna test you.
Yeah, I know exactly. Now I'm scared. No, I don't know. I might be able to tell.
So what other cities you got?
I went to a bunch of small ones, and I feel like that's one of the really cool things to do is just go to day trips from whatever city you're staying in. So Sandomierz. Yeah, so I'm looking at the map right now. Like Zamość, Sandomierz, Kazimierz Dolny, like towns you don't even know what I'm talking about. You've probably never heard of.
Right.
But like are super small, kind of quaint little towns and stuff. I feel like they're really cool to travel to because they're all, they all have like little unique layouts or different histories or food or something like that. So I think the next time I'm there, what I want to do more of is interact with locals between each city.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing Polish and stuff, so I might be able to get to a conversational level. But I especially want to talk to old people and hear their stories of what Poland was like before. Yeah. And things like that. That's especially what I want to do. I actually have this small like dream, which is, do you know those gardens in cities? You know how they have like little plots of lands? They have like these little cottages
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
in this massive type of area, right?
Mhm.
I want to talk with either a babcia or dziadek and get like a tour of their garden there. That's
Okay.
like one of my dreams in Poland,
Okay.
and just hear their stories and like just hang out with them for the day.
I
That's
tell
one
you,
of my dreams.
you know, as much as we were talking about cities now, I think some of my favorite moments have actually been out in the villages and stuff like that, and hanging out in those local, like you said, like these, like they're like these, it's like the suburbs here, kind of. It's like these little local neighborhoods that are, you know, up just outside the city. You can see the city from when they are, but they're far enough out, and it feels like, you know, it feels like here, not so much suburbs. It doesn't feel like suburbs here. It feels like you're out in the country, you know, as a comparison to here, and you know, we go out there and we, you know, take my wife has like a plot of land out there in, you know, one of these villages, and we take a grill out there, you know, you play some music and everybody just hangs out in the fields and stuff like that. You know, it's a side of Poland that probably most tourists won't see, but it's definitely a side to see.
It's cool.
Hanging out with
It's
the
really
locals
unique.
and, you know, yeah, and getting their stories and you telling them your stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most pleasurable things I do when I'm in Poland.
Yeah.
Especially now, like you said, that I can actually speak Polish to some of them. I remember the time I was in Krakow, so in that town center, there's like tons of pigeons sitting there, right? And there's like this old, I think, you know, he's like an old guy. I don't know if he's homeless or not, you know, but he's kind of sitting there scoping out tourists, because he's got bird food with him, and he's like gonna entertain you a little bit, and then he wants some money because you know he's put on a little show.
So he puts the food in your hand, and then the birds,
he did it with my daughter, right?
Yeah,
he put it in her hand, and then the birds came and ate out of the hand. Then he put some on her head, and she ate out of the, you know, all the birds came flying and then ate off her head. And so then he came over, saying something to me in English, and then I responded to him in Polish. And he's like, oh, you're Polish? And I was like, no, you know, I'm an American, but I'm learning Polish. And at that point, you know, once again, this is the big thing about Polish people. Once they know you have an interest in their country, or you've put in some effort to,
that's when,
you know,
everything
that's
starts
when, like,
opening
the
up.
doors open, and like, you know,
Yeah.
you're practically one of the locals at that point, and you know, you get everything comes out. Like everybody says, the like in the Polish cities, everybody's very cold and very distant, and you know, when you're walking down the street, nobody's smiling or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that is true, but they're very guarded. But once you have broken down that guard simply by showing your interest in the country,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
the world's the limit at that point, you know.
And I bet you have weird experiences here too with locals and stuff, with just talking to people and finding out they're Polish, and then you start talking to them.
Definitely. Go
I have this weird one where last summer when I was at the beach, I made a video where I was talking about the differences between summer in Poland versus the U.S., but I think I did it in Polish. But there was a kayak rental place. This is in a very small beach in Virginia. There was this kayak rental place. And I go to talk about rentals with this older lady, and she has a bit of an accent. So I asked her, what's your name? And she's like, Paulina, or it's something very, like, you know, a girl's name in Poland.
Right.
And so I started talking to her in Polish, and she was like, you're Polish. Like, oh my God, you know? And weird experiences like that in a small area in the middle of nowhere. I mean, have you had experiences like that with people?
Definitely. There's a lot of Polish people around here, but there's definitely, like you said, it's specifically in the names, how you can, or how they pronounce it. I'm used to that Polish accent when speaking English now. Like, you know, even like, I remember I was up at like the convenience store up the street or something like that, and they had a new person working there, and she has her name tag on, and it said Eva, you know, EWA, right? Right.
How would people pronounce that? Like
in English, I don't know.
Like if an American like saw that name tag, what would they say?
It's one of those things now. I guess Ewa. It's one of those things that like Polish cities, I'm just so used to knowing that the W is a V.
You see it as a V. Yeah.
I don't. You know, it's hard to not see it as Eva. You know, and so I'm like, okay, this woman must be Polish. I mean, maybe she could have been from other Slovakian country, but I'm like, I'm gonna take my gamble here that she's Polish. Sure enough, she was. But it's funny. Yeah, I've had some people ask me where was I born. You know, I spoke to them in Polish or something like that, and when you speak small enough, they can't find the flaws in how you're speaking Polish, something like that. And some guy was like, "Oh, where were you born?" And I'm like, "I was born, up in New York." And they're like, "Oh, where are your parents from in Poland?" And I'm not Polish.
They always do those questions, don't they?
Yeah.
They always say, where's your family from? What's this? And it's like, no, I got just blood here. I'm sorry.
I think a lot at this point, a lot of people, when they look at me, it's obvious I'm not Polish. But then when they see me with my wife, they just assume that I'm some guy with Polish roots, and I was simply born here, and I'm trying to get back to my roots or whatever, and that's why I'm learning Polish. Like, it completely blows their mind, a lot of people, that
that you have no real connection.
That I have no real connection to Poland, and I can speak the language as I don't speak that well, but as well as I can, right?
Or that I speak pretty well,
or that I know about as much about the culture as I know and stuff like that, right? And it's simply been, like I said, it's more of a going on 12-year obsession now than anything else.
So I got a question then. So from the first time you went to Poland, like, how soon after were you like, you know what, I'm dedicated, I'm gonna start learning Polish? Or were you just like, I'm gonna learn a few words, and then it eventually turned into learning more? Or like, what was it like?
So I remember the first time I went to Poland. When I returned from that trip, I could say 2 words: dziękuję and na zdrowie.
I didn't even know Dzień dobry before I even arrived.
It was funny because when we were going on that trip to Poland the first time, all my friends were on the plane, like, studying like their phrase books and stuff like that. And I was in such a good mood to be going to another country. I'm like, well, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah.
But those were, because we went to a wedding, we went to a bachelor party and everything. Those were the 2 words I needed all the time, was dziękuję and na zdrowie. And I would mess up which one I was supposed to use in which situation, like somebody would hand me something, I'd say na zdrowie or something like that, So then I think some point after, I'd made a couple trips back to Europe to visit my now wife. And, at some point I was like, okay, it's time to start studying Polish. I've always had this thing that I wanted to learn a foreign language.
Yeah.
But I've never been in the right context to learn it. And I tried learning in school. I never had the right motivation, I guess is the right way to put it. Like when we were in high school, we had to pick a language. My choices were Spanish and French. I picked French.
I picked Latin.
Okay, did you? Okay, you had a death wish then. I picked French because the French teacher was better looking than the Spanish teacher. I don't remember any of that now.
Yeah.
But I think but it's gotten to the point, like, I'm very casual about learning the language. I think if I told somebody how long I've been learning it, they'd probably be like, that, and that's as well as you speak, that's it, kind of thing. Because I'm just kind of like, I pick things up as I go. I haven't been sitting there. I don't sit there and dedicate myself hardcore to it or everything like that.
Yeah.
I've taken long breaks from not learning anything.
Same. And, okay, so we're in the same boat then. We're just like,
I just been doing
once
it
we
longer
get
than
the
you.
free,
That's it.
Yeah. And once we get the free time, then we're studying and stuff. But other than that, we're kind of like just natural. We're like, we'll just chill and learn it eventually.
Yeah, definitely. I would say I'm surprised every time I go to Poland how many
new words and
or how understandable everybody is this time.
Yeah.
Luckily, this time, as we mentioned, also between these different cities, there's definitely different dialect, like how we have southern accents here.
Yeah,
and,
I noticed that with Zakopane.
Yeah, and like I said, I hear my wife here all the time. She's from Białystok, and I've gotten used to that style. It's like that area is where Disco Polo is from, so there's definitely like a melody to how they speak that doesn't sound quite the same from other places. It took me a while. It took me longer to pick it up from other parts of Poland than it did from Białystok.
Zakopane, it sounds slower, and it also sounds more similar to like Czech.
They have like that mountain.
Yeah, it's that mountain type of thing.
Yeah. I remember hearing it when I was in Krakow.
Yeah.
Actually, we talked about all these cities. We haven't talked straight about Białystok yet, and I better talk about it. Like you for Lublin.
Yeah.
Lublin.
I've been to Białystok once.
Okay.
We stopped there, and that was really it. We just kind of stopped there. I had to pee. We were driving, I think, to like No, actually, we went to a dog show in Białystok.
Okay.
Because my girlfriend, she's into showing dogs and doing that type of stuff. So, that's really all. I got to see a mall, but like other than that, that's all I saw. So, take it away.
Yeah, like I said, I think I've been there 10 times now, something like that. It's going on double digits. For me, so it's similar. Like it's like a micro version of what I've been experiencing in Poland, and it's definitely a lot of changes since I've been there. They're definitely doing a lot of work on it. They're definitely modernizing a lot of things, and it's amazing how you'll be sitting there in the center of a city, and it's very modern and very green and high tech and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you hit one street over, and it's like old school Poland, and it's like you can tell where the construction has ended and where the construction will be next year, kind of things to make things nicer and stuff like that. But like that town center, there's I don't know if you do this at all. There's a webcam in the center of town,
and you can see like the live webcam,
and you get the live feed of it. And a lot of times I will, like when I'm at work and stuff here, and I'm like I can't stand what's going on, I will throw it up on one of my screens and just let it sitting up there and watch everybody walk by and stuff like that. I've done that with there's some webcams. They have like storks are a big thing over there. I don't know if you've seen like the nest and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're like they have kind of a longer beak. They're longer like legs, until the feathers start. They have, I think, don't they have a white stripe, or are they white
Something
completely?
Like that. They're white. Yeah. So a big thing over there too is there's webcams for these
like
farms
Nest.
or Nest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll take like somebody's farm out in the village who have one of these webcams on, and I'll throw that up because those ones usually have sound also. So it's a very pleasant thing to listen to while you're getting your day started and stuff like that. Like I said, it's I'm very biased about Białystok because that's where I've been the most. That's where my wife's family is. It's kind of like that's where my heart is, kind of thing.
That's how I am with Lublin. At the end of the day.
Yeah. So I know people till the end of my days will be telling me I should be in other cities other than Białystok, but it's like it's like you like where it's like kids when they're born in a certain area, that's their favorite area, right? Because that's where they were born, that's where they were growing in, and so it's kind of like I was born in the Białystok area, as far as my Polish journey happened. So it's very hard for me to say too much bad about it. Some of the personalities there, you can feel like it's a little bit rougher of a city. It's sometimes like with some of the guys and everything like that, like this whole whole similar problem. like how we compared like Hicks in the South, and stuff like that, where it's like the stereotype, just like I'm going to show you how much I can drink, I'm going to show you how tough I am, that kind of attitude sometimes, it's like I don't have that same feeling on things. I don't care how much everybody else drinks. I don't, I'm drinking what's good for me. And sometimes there's some of that going on and stuff like that. But that's the place where I've done the most non-touristy things. Like I've been to lots of disco, the discotheques and the...
Have you?
Yeah.
We've never been to, I haven't been to any.
So I think I've been to 3 of them. Well, 4 of them. In Białystok, because I've been to 3 bachelor parties in Poland. So this is the other thing is for bachelor parties over there, at least again, everything I talk about is from my point of view, my knowledge of what I have. You get in, all the out of town guests get invited to the bachelor parties, and so the last time we were there, it was for a wedding of last time we went for a wedding, it was like one of my wife's nieces or something like that. And since I was an out of town guest, I got invited to the bachelor party. But the clubs are nice. It's definitely different than it is here. Like here, I feel like clubs are meant for 18 to 22-year-olds, let's say. And there you find a more diverse crowd. I think like people in, as we talked about last time with weddings, people in Poland just like to dance more than Americans do. And they go there to actually, dance and have a good time.
What's the music?
It's like, well, probably because we're in
house.
probably because we're in in Białystok, there's a lot of disco polo going
Yeah.
on, but it's like that, not like the old school, you know, the original disco polo, like this modern that basically
Yeah.
sounds like dance music, you know.
Yeah.
But it technically is, you know, if it's got a saxophone and an accordion, then it's probably disco polo. like Weekend, you've seen that video. It's probably like that kind of music, you know.
Okay.
It's fun. You know, that was when I learned, like you, I'm able to get around Białystok by myself.
Yeah.
Because there was one night, I think I walked out of the club, and it was my bachelor party, so my wife wasn't with me. I had my brother-in-laws with me, and we went to one club, and then kind of like a lot of the Americans went back to the room, and then my brother-in-laws were like, let's go to another club, and I'm like, okay. And I took one of my friends with me, and basically we got to the other club, and he was kind of passing out in the booth or whatever. We were all on the floor dancing, and he was passing out, and so the bouncer told us, you know, take him home, get him out of here, kind of thing. So I grab him, like, let's go, we're going outside. And I kind of left my brother-in-laws in the club. And I got outside and I looked around, and I was, you know, obviously it's my bachelor party. I was pretty drunk at this point. And I was like, okay, I got this. And I managed to walk us both back to our hotel room. So, okay, we've gone over the cities that I've been to. We've been over the cities that you've been to. Are there any cities you would still want to see in Poland?
No, I don't want to see any. No, I want to see Łódź. I want to go around the just south of Poland, like all of the mountain towns, small towns that no one's ever heard of, that type of thing.
I would definitely want to go hiking in the mountains. Yeah,
hiking would be really cool.
I've seen a lot of pictures, like when I was using Instagram, I saw a lot of like famous actors in Poland. They'll take like their buddies up to the mountains and stuff like that and go, you know, hanging out. I'm like, I definitely want to do stuff like that.
I want to drink beer, wear some folk clothes, and hang out with people on a sheep farm. That's one of the other goals I want to have. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's one of my dreams. So that I want to see Wrocław, especially you probably as well. Yeah. Seems like a really cool place. Everyone keeps recommending, you know, that place too. Szczecin, maybe. Poznan.
I like to go vacation in Missouri. Everybody tells me.
Oh, in the lake area? Yeah. That would be cool for like a summer trip or something. Any more that you want to see? Or just, I'm open too. Like, I want to go everywhere.
You know, it's like I said, we only go there for a couple weeks out of the year, and my wife really misses her family, so that's why we spend most of our time in Białystok.
Of course, yeah.
But definitely, now that I've gotten that itch, now that I've saw Krakow, I'm like, okay, I've gotten that. You know, it's like when first time I traveled to Europe. You know, okay, now I need to go see other places.
Yeah,
you know, same kind of thing here.
It keeps expanding, right?
It keeps expanding. Especially on New Year's Eve, we get all the Polish broadcast here, and you know, usually there's 3 or 4 cities where they have New Year's Eve events from. And so they give, you know, the aerial shots and everything like that. I'm like, I have to go see these places, you know.
Yeah.
Like, everything looks amazing.
All right, guys. So if you have any questions at all, then just leave a comment down below, or you can join our Discord and talk with us personally. So that's about it for this episode. Thanks again for watching. Dziękuję I do widzenia.